My ears are messed up. As such, in-ears never fit me correctly. They have an uneven fit, hurt, or just plain fall out after a while. Because of that, I do prefer to use on or over-ear headphones. But then, recently, I came across the Zombiescat B15. A $16 set of earbuds that clamps onto your ear while leaving the ear canal open. The question now is though, are they any good? But before I get into that question, let's get to what's in the box and what's in the buds. In the box, you get the earbuds themselves with the case, a USB A to C cable, and a small manual. As for the buds specs, they make use of 12mm drivers, is rated for IPX4 water resistance, makes use of Bluetooth 5.4 while only supporting the SBC codec, and makes use of 40mAh batteries in the buds and 300mAh batteries in the case. The battery size doesn't sound like much, but it lasts quite a while. I would say roughly 3 to 5 hours a session, and when recharging about a solid 20 to 24 hours. One thing here, however, is that when I managed to empty the case, I also managed to somehow get 2 different charging levels. So one was empty, while the other one still had like 60% remaining. I then come to my impression of the B15s, as I had no clear idea what to expect. Using them out of the box is very simple. You take them out, select them from the list of scanned devices, and off you go. What wasn't so simple though was putting them on for the first time. With regular headphones, it's quite easy as you just push them into the holes. With these you have to kind of find the correct position on your ear. The first time I put them on, I managed to have them at different angles to the other one, which is why I could barely hear one over the other. But after trying some positions, I managed to get them to a good spot. They sit snug on the ear and do have some amount of clamping force, which I barely felt. Only when wearing them for a couple of hours at a time, I did notice that my ears hurted a bit after taking them off. At this point, I accidentally touched the controls and discovered one of the more annoying things of the B15s. The feedback you get is in the form of a click, and this feedback is tied to the volume of the headphones. So when you have them at max volume, every action would make this absurdly loud clicking sound. I just feel like this one should have maxed out at like 50% of the maximum volume. That aside though, it came time to listen to some music and other auditory forms of media. I don't have a frequency graph for these, and I don't have a way to get one, so this is mostly how I felt about it. The quality is altogether not bad for the price, and perfectly serviceable. The overall sound, however, might be something that could be a hit or miss depending on what you want. The B15s have very little bass, and do sound quite a bit different depending on the volume. If you crank them up a little, they sound just like regular earbuds, just flatter. But when you're not in the mood to damage your hearing, then they do sound a bit thin. You can kind of replicate that by taking your current headphones and pulling them out or lifting them off the ears ever so slightly. In some more complexer songs, it has the effect that more dominant instruments and vocals drown out the other ones. For most music, this is not a problem though, and I stopped noticing it after a while. The same can also be said for spoken words, such as podcasts or YouTube videos in general. One thing I have to add here though, is that your ear canal is still open. I did not realize what that meant until I've actually used the B15s. It is in general very nice when you need to hear something or want to quickly talk to someone, like in a store as an example. When you do something louder though, then it tends to drown out the music or requires you to crank up the volume. They do for some reason advertise the commute as a use case, but if you use them on a bus, train, etc., you would either not hear anything or would be that person that forces everybody else to listen to their music. So I think that is a bit of a stretch. On a side note, I did find that I could wear my over-ears quite comfortably while wearing the B15s at the same time. This is pure zoomer behavior, but I used to wear my headphones with one cup off to listen to a podcast while playing something grindy like a JRPG. But this weird left-right dynamic becomes annoying after a while. With the B15s, I can zoom out like a pro. One obvious thing to worry about with these is the bleeding. So I clipped one of them onto the silicone here and test out how well you would hear it if you would stand roughly across from somebody wearing them. As you might have been able to hear now, you can hear the sound quite alright at around 50%. I would consider about 45 to 55% the volumes that I would usually listen to something at. And as you can hear them, at least to some degree. If there's some noise around you, they will be drowned out as well. But the higher you go, they do have quite a strong bleeding effect, to the point where you can hear them really well. One thing I was worried about is how well the buds would stick to your ears. I moved around a lot in different ways. I also jumped around and shook my head as much as I could. All in all, they stayed on and at worst moved down slightly a bit. I did go to sleep with them once as well, but there I'm pretty good at removing any kind of headphones. So in the morning I had a scare that one of my cats might have ate them when I did not find them. Thankfully I still have both, but worry was not unfounded as my cat did get a bite in. What also gets a bite in is the microphone. Now I don't want to say it's bad, but...
Now, Bluetooth headphones are usually quite bad when it comes to the microphone. They just cannot compete with the wired ones. And especially with these, I had troubles getting them to even work. I'm currently using my work laptop running Windows 11, and that seems to work. No idea if this impacts the quality of the microphone at all, but hey, let's see if this is bad or not. Maybe it's great, I don't know. I haven't listened back to this yet.
It is pretty bad. I don't expect much from a mic that is nowhere near my mouth and gets transmitted over Bluetooth, but you certainly won't catch me recording a full video of this. In conclusion, I think the Zombiescat B15 are not a bad pair of earbuds per se. They are, however, not for most people. If you seek an audiophile experience, then you won't find it here, and you certainly don't want them if you live near a construction site. I like them for their openness and how you wear them. These are big pros for me, but can just as well be cons for somebody else. Zombiescat also has more models that are of this style, so I might test them as well in the future to see if they are any better or worse. And if there are any other earbuds you want me to check out, just let me know in the comments.